welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. By the time you hear this, it will be Wednesday afternoon or sometime on Wednesday. But I'm honored to have Miss Kelly. Miss Kelly is not only a health coach, but Miss Kelly came on the podcast before, but she has the most exciting update that she's here to share with you guys. And Miss Kelly is a traditionally published author as of, I don't know, she's now working on a book, and she's going to talk about getting a book deal and securing that, and the health coaching end of getting a book deal, and why her life is a little insane right now because of that book deal. So without further ado, I'm going to let Kelly take it away.
All right. Well, thank you. I am so thrilled to be on the show again. This is absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Wen.
You are so welcome. And now, my first question to you is, for all my new fans out there, please explain more of what you do and how you got this fantastic book deal.
Okay, well, I am a licensed professional counselor, and I've got a PhD in psychology. But what I've been able to do is blend my passion for wellness and fitness with the mental health piece of it, and that's kind of how I came up with the idea of Fit Shrink. And because I think it brings together the best of both worlds, because I think a lot of us don't really need a diagnosis so much as we need, support and understanding, and just sort of giving some mindful thought, giving some time to whatever health challenges we have and health strategies. And so that's what I'm passionate about, and that's what I come to the health and wellness table, so to speak, but I do it with the perspective of a mental health person. So that's what I do, and I do private coaching and all that good stuff. But with the book, as a woman with PCOS myself, polycystic ovary syndrome, I felt like this is an underserved part of the population. And every book that I've read about it just kind of left me thinking, okay, it's not quite it, it's not quite it. And so I wrote this book to basically pick up where the diagnosis leaves off for a lot of women and help them with their strategies, their lifestyle strategies. And so that's what I have done. And, I had the opportunity to choose either traditional publishing or self-publishing, and this was a really good fit for me. There are definitely pros and cons to every situation.
Yep. So, and I applaud you for getting your story out there. I am a woman with cerebral palsy, as you guys know, and over the past, almost 30 years, it will be 30 years in June, and I have quickly discovered that there's not enough awareness about cerebral palsy. So what I'm doing is now self-publishing books out the yin yang, all based around cerebral palsy. I'm hoping for a traditional publishing deal in the future, but right now I'm stuck with self-publishing. So when you come to the front of a hidden disability, did the publishers say no way, or was there pushback, or did they say yes, yes, yes?
I was very surprised, because I have a lot of experience, obviously, with PCOS, and I had a lot to say in the part of the book that I had written, as a way to propose, my proposal for the book. The biggest pushback I got was that I'm not an MD. I'm a PhD in psychology, but I'm not an MD. And because of that, there was some initial pushback. But, I think with any challenge, there's so much power in coming up with another way to work around that challenge. I mean, that's true for anything. And, I mean, that's true for people with disabilities. That's true for, pretty much any life challenge that we have. When you figure out a way to work with it or work around it, you bring to the table something so new and so beautiful. And I think that's a really valuable thing to be brave with and bring to the table. And it does require a bit of bravery. I had a lot of people writing back to my agent saying, she's not an MD. Sorry, it's probably not a good fit for us. And that's a tough pill to swallow, so to speak. But I think that when you have something to say and you notice those gaps, that it's important to be brave and to take that stand and say, you know what, I really have something important to say here. This is a valuable part of this puzzle that's going to help people. And so I just kept at it, and fortunately I was able to find a publisher that believes in this book and believes in my approach to this book, because it is non-traditional. I'm not an MD, and we're not going to talk about medical aspects of PCOS. I'm talking about getting healthy and the mindset of it. And so, but what's cool is that when that clicked, it was just, it really clicked, and everything moved very quickly. And so we were able to, we had the deadline and it was very tight, but it was really worth it. And my passion for the topic helped me make that happen. And I did, I got it in by the deadline, and it was all about, this is something that needs to be said, and I had to say it. So I'm really fortunate and very grateful to have the opportunity.
And who are you soon to be published by, if you don't mind me asking?
No, of course not. My publisher is Roman and Littlefield. They're up in I think their headquarters is in Boston.
So a huge shout out goes out to them, because they believed in you, they believed in this book, they believed in your story, and I can't wait to have you back on the podcast when the book comes out to talk about the book. But my next question to you is, how does it feel to be a traditionally published author?
I love it. I absolutely love it. It requires a degree of suspension of your energy and passion. You have to really hold that. And I think when you have something you really believe in, it's possible to do that, because in one sense, everything moves very quickly, but then, we don't get the book out until February of 2018. And so in one sense, it's like, we worked so hard and we got to this point, but, there's a process to it. And again, there's pros and cons. But it definitely is an amazing feeling. And it's, I feel very, very grateful and also very flattered that they believed in me enough to allow me to approach this topic from my perspective.
Yeah. So you're on the smaller side of traditional publishing, but still you're on traditional publishing track. Right.
Exactly. And it was a really good fit for me. And what's cool about the traditional publishing is, you have to do a lot of kind of just almost massaging the manuscript as you write it. And, I've written so many articles and so many things over the years, but what's really interesting about it is because, you've got a lot of different people looking at it. And I think a lot of people worry about losing their creative voice in something. But what I found, my experience was that, when my editor came back and she said, well, I think that we need to come at this a different way, and this is why. And, when I would hear her feedback, in one sense, you have that as a writer, and I'm sure you felt this too sometimes. If you get feedback on your writing, it's like, that really hurts.
Really.
But when you settle into it, and understand that really she and I have the same goal, and the goal is to sell a book that's going to help people. And so, understanding that she and I have the same goal. We're coming at it from our areas of expertise, but we have the same goal. And so aligning with that and understanding that helped me make those adjustments in the manuscript. And looking at the manuscript at that point versus, when I first started writing it, it just blew me away how that challenge really shaped me into a better writer, and it really shaped me into it shaped the manuscript into something that was even better than I had hoped for. So I'm very pleased with it, but it's definitely not something for the faint of heart.
No, publishing a book, any track you're on, is definitely not for the faint of heart. I know that in the self-publishing industry. Now, have you decided on the cover? Because what I hear in the self-publishing industry is, okay, great, you come up with the cover, you hand it to them, they turn around and change the whole thing.
Mhm. I was given the opportunity to give them a lot of my ideas about how I wanted the cover to be, just in terms of concepts. But I'll be very honest with you. I am actually not a visual person at all. I think a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and their ideas are probably very good. And in that case, I would suggest, leaning into that discussion a little bit more than I did. But because I'm everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses, and visually it doesn't work for me. You don't really do anything by, that part of my brain. So for me it wasn't as important, but then again, I know that in that case, I really trusted them because again, we're both trying to get to the same place. We're trying to sell a book that connects with people. And so because I know that's a weakness of mine, I really, I gave my best effort, but it was still an open conversation. But, sometimes there's some things that you just have to let go and trust.
Yeah. I am working with a graphic designer right now, and she asked me a couple questions this morning, but I said, I'll let the artists do their work because at the same time I'm trying to sell books, but at the same time, I want her to have creative freedom.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's true. Anytime you have a graphic designer doing your work, it's almost like working with any professional. You have to know them and like them and trust them. And all of those three pieces come together. And when you find a graphic designer or a professional of any type that you have those things, that's when you get a really great result. And I love that back and forth discussion. I think that's important, what you said, working with that graphic designer that way.
So what are your dreams with the book to help people, to inspire people to make it to the New York Times bestseller list? What are your dreams with this book?
Absolutely. Everybody wants to be on the New York Times bestseller list, of course.
Yeah.
But really all that is an indication that my book has been able to reach a large number of people. And that's what I want most of all, because I know what it's like being a woman with PCOS, and I know what it's like struggling with health problems. It's just my personal experience with PCOS. I lost 75 pounds with the diet and lifestyle changes that I needed to make. All of my symptoms went away except for my cystic acne. And then I struggled with that for 10 years. And what we know from the research is that cystic acne, which is very common for women with PCOS, is it has a huge emotional impact. And so finally I was able to wrap my head around what I needed to do, and really it came down to asking for medical help. I had to talk to a dermatologist and say, look, this is what's going on. And that was hard for me because I really wanted to solve it myself, but I couldn't. And what I want women to know is that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to meet medical interventions with lifestyle changes. And that's true no matter what you're struggling with. And so, it's got to be okay, but I want to reach enough women to help them, not suffer for a decade. before they get the help they need, before they start feeling better. I want to help them now, and I want to help them feel okay about this. So, those are, the more women I can reach, the better.
And give all listeners, just so they know, as a frame of reference, the full name of your hidden disability.
I'm sorry, yes, of course. Mine is, it's called PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. And
Polycystic ovary syndrome.
Right. And it's actually a metabolic condition where, for most people, for most women, there's an issue of insulin resistance with it, which makes it extremely hard to lose weight. We don't use sugar as effectively as other women. And then because of the hormone imbalance, which is really the core of it, the hormone imbalance causes a lot of other issues. Women who have cystic acne, they'll have cysts on their ovaries. Weight loss is very difficult. And if it's left untreated, we have a higher risk of heart disease, diabetes, that sort of thing. And so we don't want to get to that point. I'm passionate about reaching as many women as I can now.
I was going to say when diabetes play into it because of the insulin, but you said yes. You answered my question.
Oh yeah.
And so, okay, so you have this disability office that you fight every single day. Has the book given you more hope to help yourself?
I think it has, because I think that I come at this from, really working my body really, just to make sure and try to be on it and be very, very focused on it. And what I realized was that during the time, this huge time of upheaval for me while I was writing this book, I actually lost my health. I actually, because of the stress and I wasn't eating as well as I know I should have been, and I wasn't exercising as much as I should have been, what happened was my PCOS started to come back. And in many respects, that's scary, but it was also a tremendous opportunity for me to reconnect with what it's like to have PCOS, because I've had it in remission for so many years. It was really an opportunity that I'm grateful for. And now that the book is done and I'm back on track, all of those symptoms have gone away. But that was I was actually grateful for that, to reconnect.
You were actually grateful. As you were writing the book, you're like, oh, I'm feeling these symptoms. Thank you very much.
Yes.
This book, thank you very
exactly.
much. The stress of a
exactly.
book. And, although it secretly came back to help you, because as you were writing this book, you had to talk about the symptoms.
Exactly. I had to. And as a matter of fact, one of the terrible habits that I got into, because I was juggling, work with my clients and getting out there and writing my book and everything else, one of the really bad habits I got into that month was I wasn't sleeping very well. And we know that lack of sleep can actually impact our blood sugar in the long run and make PCOS symptoms worse. And as I got to the chapter on sleep and I started really researching what sleep does to PCOS, I remember the day it happened, I thought, you know what? This is absolutely ridiculous, what I'm doing to myself. And so it was a really great wake-up call for me. And I loved having that mirror put in front of my face. And I think that helped me write from a truly passionate, authentic place. I came to it authentically anyway because I've had PCOS, but to have it right there in front of me was a great opportunity to just connect with it on a visceral level.
Yes, and I apologize to you guys if my voice sounds a little bit wonky and it sounds like I have a cold. Because I retired from preschool teaching yesterday, I said, retired, yes, I'm no longer teaching preschool. Thank God. The kids gave me a mini cold as a goodbye gift. So I'm like, great, you guys. You sent me off with a mini cold. So I apologize for the sound of my voice. Those of you who have been listening to me know that I have a speech impediment, but the cold makes it 10 times worse. And I'm like, great, I'm about to interview Kelly on health and I have a cold. So I apologize. Kelly. I apologize to listeners. I apologize to all my listeners. I have a mini cold and it won't go away. So that's what Johnny and those kids giving you. And so getting back to Kelly, what's the best way if someone is diagnosed with your disability, newly diagnosed, I should say, and they go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, you have this. What's the best way that they can help themselves, the first baby steps?
The first thing you're going to want to do is just start being aware of your diet and start being aware of your exercise level, and then very gently start making those changes toward better health. I think the worst thing you can do is try to do a complete overhaul in one day. And, you know, a lot of women spend a lot of time fighting with themselves about that because it tends to be an all or nothing approach. I know I did that for a long time. And what we know is that easing into it is better. It's all about progress, not perfection. You know, you don't actually have to be perfect when you have PCOS to keep it in check. You just have to be very gentle with yourself, but be very consistent. As much as you can, be consistent. It's not extreme, just consistent. And so that would be my biggest advice. It's just to start slowly, understand that this is not the end of the world. When you have a diagnosis, this is actually a very good thing because it gives you a guidepost for how to structure your lifestyle so that you can achieve better health. And it's once you start learning those strategies, it really does improve your health and you're going to feel a lot better.
And my last question to you, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, how many young women and women are diagnosed with this disability?
This is actually a fairly common one. The numbers vary, but about 1 in 10 women are diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome, which really is a huge number if you think about it. With the impact that it has on a woman's life in terms of her health and her fertility. You know, a lot of women struggle with fertility. Yeah. And because of that, this is a big number. This is an issue that really needs to be brought to the forefront and talked about. You know, it's kind of, you know, I talk about it because this is what I do, but a lot of women don't really want this information out there. There's a lot of, you know, embarrassment about it, I guess you could say. This doesn't need to be, but I understand it. And so I think it's my job to get out there and help people as much as I can. But it's definitely more common than I think people realize.
It's funny that you say that. It's the same thing with cerebral palsy. There's so many misconceptions out there that I think it's my job to get out there and beat the cerebral palsy drum half to death, and anyone that doesn't want to join me, go away. But I think that cerebral palsy and your hidden disability, I didn't realize you had a disability until today. And so I think with cerebral palsy, it's the same way that there's so much stigma towards you and I and all disabilities that it's not even funny.
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of misconceptions there, and you know, this is something that you do struggle with when you have something that is hidden or partially hidden, and you know, a lot of people wonder, well, why can't you just get over it? You know, why can't you just go and do this or go and lose weight or whatever? And I think that's really frustrating. And one of the things that I noticed was that, you know, we tend to have, and I think I told you this before when we were chatting earlier, that there's that when we're talking about the mainstream media and how people with different conditions or disabilities are treated, there's that gap. There's that missing piece. And if you're in you're a 20-something fitness model, it's a good fit. But if you're outside of that, that very narrow dynamic, sometimes it's hard to, really find something that is relevant. And I was actually going to ask you, if you don't mind, what your thoughts are on that. As a woman with cerebral palsy, what do you think about that gap with being represented, and how do you think women can overcome that?
How do I think women can overcome that? That's why I'm going back to journalism school. Hello, you answered my question. You hit the nail right on the head. People need to advocate for their own disabilities. Get off your lazy ass. I'm sorry for my language, but it's kind of a little soapbox that I have started. Get off your lazy asses and advocate for your own disability, and don't just sit there and listen to Kelly and I and then be diagnosed by a doctor with cerebral palsy, or have your son or daughter be diagnosed with Kelly's disability, which I'm going to have her give to me again and say it again. But advocate for your own disability. That is why I'm going back to journalism school in the fall, even though it's going to be fashion journalism, but I'm going to turn it into journalism in general.
Mhm. I think that's so important to get those stories out there. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. And so where can people find you, and where can people get a hold of this fabulous book that is coming out in February of 2018?
The book, Thriving with PCOS, will be out in February of 18, and the best place probably at this point that I'm aware of is in Amazon. And it'll be out in other places as well, but Amazon is probably going to be the easiest place to find it. And then you can find me at my website, which is fitshrink.com, or on the Facebook page, which is also FitShrink.
So FitShrink and then Amazon. And the book will obviously be on pre-order, obviously be on everywhere in 2018. And yes, we need to have you back on the podcast in 2018 when the book comes out. And yes, I'll get my Kindle copy and post it on Instagram, or maybe get a hardcover book and then actually read the book so I can educate myself about this disability that affects women every single day.
Thank you. That'd be great. I appreciate it, Wen.
Well, you are welcome. And before I let you go and get back to your amazing work, Kelly wants to ask me some questions about my disability or anything. And so I'm going to let Kelly take it away.
One of the things that I was wondering was, as far as finding exercise ideas for women with cerebral palsy, what are some of the resources that you've encountered?
Well, I don't Google traditional PT one. Traditional PT sucks. I have been to PTs out the yin. Some are smaller than others. Always ask for a second opinion, and always stick up for your rights, or have your aides stick up for your rights when it comes to PT. As you guys know, I'm doing an untraditional PT program with the Bridging Bionics Foundation, which the Bridging Bionics Foundation gets me in a bionic exoskeleton. I am the first woman in the country to be walking in a bionic exoskeleton in the country, we believe.
Wow. So, that's an amazing thing.
And you can Google Bridging Bionics. You can Google the exoskeleton. You can look it up on Bridging Bionics Facebook page. There's videos of me walking, and because it's me and people know my story, this video got 10,000 views or something like that, and the woman who started Amanda Box Tell, if you go back on my feed, or just go to butterfliesofwisdom.com and Google Butterflies of Wisdom, or ask my producer Dan, you guys, for Amanda's episode. She'll be happy to send it to you. And this woman crowdfunded this exoskeleton and then couldn't use it anymore, but because the exoskeleton is so expensive, she needed a way to use it and give it love every single day. And so she started this amazing nonprofit, which only started, I believe, a year and a half ago. And so I've been fortunate enough to do untraditional PT, but yet still PT.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's great. To be a part of that is really exciting.
Yeah.
What would be your advice? What would be your advice for adults with cerebral palsy who are interested in just starting an exercise program of any kind? What would you tell them if they're a little worried about that? What would you tell them?
1, ask your doctor. 2, do what you can to your strengths. Like, if you can ride a bike really well, do that once a week. Or if you can walk in an exoskeleton, do that twice a week. Or if you can do something just with resistance bands, do that. Just start slowly. You don't have to go all full tilt, just like Kelly said in the middle of the interview. Just start slowly and build up your exercise routine.
Wonderful. That's great. And I love that idea of working with your strengths. I think that that's a great way to get your motivation consistent, build your motivation.
Yeah.
But also just to keep it going and get stronger. And, I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you letting me ask you those questions.
Well, you're welcome. And I knew they were going to be, kind of working out questions, but that's okay. I like to talk about working out. I like to talk about my untraditional PT program that I'm doing, and it's so funny you asked me those questions, Kelly, because later on today I'm actually doing a deep dive about cerebral palsy with someone else, and so because I don't get it, you guys, you seem to like cerebral palsy more than I think you do. And so a lot of you have been asking, what are the statistics of cerebral palsy and how do you do this? How do you do that? So we're doing a second deep dive on cerebral palsy. Then on June 19th, a couple of days before my 30th birthday, which is June 22nd, we're doing the final deep dive on cerebral palsy, where I have someone interview me on my feed. So that episode will be coming out as a special episode on my 30th birthday, which is June 22nd. And please, 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 when Kelly's book comes out, for those of you who do buy it, Kelly would be forever grateful. But please leave a review for Kelly's book. That only helps with Amazon, and that will help more women discover this disability and give more women hope and the occasional men hope, and then will help Kelly get to the New York Times bestseller list, or still be hope. And then so please leave a review on Kelly's book, and then you can find my books on Amazon as well. Just type in Win Kelly Charles, Win W-I-N, Kelly K-E-L-L-Y, Charles C-H-A-R-L-E-S, and we can start the conversation from there. But let's get the word out about all disabilities.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Wen.
Thank you. And this podcast has been sponsored by Kelly and her company. Kelly was sponsoring the podcast at one point, and I believe she's going to do it again now that she is not so much on the rock. And this podcast is also sponsored by Kitter, Kitter. Their Twitter is Go Kitter, and what they do is you compose a tweet and they put the trending hashtag with them. And I'm sorry it's not mobile yet. I'm trying to contact the founder and say, give me a mobile app so I can tell you guys about it. And so I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode with Kelly and I hope you're able to share this episode. Thanks, you guys.